Are you live on the Facebook page?
Yes, we're live
Okay.
right now.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. This is the 716 Live Show, and we are live, and Think and Grow with Vet Green. We are live right now with Senator Kennedy and Community Advocate John Ingram. I'm so happy to have both of you in the studio today. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator
I'm
Kennedy.
honored to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, and thank you so much, John, for always coming through for me. I really appreciate
It's always
that.
a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So we are just going to have just a few questions that we want to ask both of you, and I'm excited about the Lackawanna Fun Day that's going to be happening. 716 Live has been is going to be a part of it, so I'm excited about that. We're going to be broadcasting live out at the
We're gonna be at Jeffrey Taggart Playground, 135 Odell. You know, it's open for the whole city of Lackawanna. Very proud of it. It's going on its 9th year.
yeah,
You know,
wow.
And I'm really proud to have my senator because we've been there from day one.
Yes, sir.
Day one from when it first started.
Yes, sir.
We will have about 30 to 40 health vendors and information from the city that can help residents. Also on that Saturday, we do Kids Day where we're gonna have kids stuff. We have bounce houses and free snow cone and popcorn, music and stuff. Kind enough 716. We have two.
Anyway, we have two acts that are going to be out there. Molotov Mao, who is one of my favorite artists out from the 716. Molotov Mao and hopefully Duke De Niro can join us. I love their album that's out right now. It's called The Dialogue. It just touches me. And Lil Pablo, who is actually from Lackawanna, he's going to be performing as well. So I'm very excited about both of those acts. I love both of their music, so I'm very excited about that. I'm excited that 716 Live is going to be a part of the journey that is going on as far as the expansion. I love what John has been doing as far as Lackawanna Fun Day. Like I said, we are going to be broadcasting live using Ludi. Ludi's going to be out there DJing, so that's going to come through 716 Live Radio. So make sure everyone is tapped in as we are going live out there. You're going to hear a lot of music coming through, a lot of activities coming through. You're going to hear the acts as well.
And if anybody want to be a vendor,
Yeah.
a merchant vendor, a food vendor, we're very for merchant vendors. They're like $50 a day. Food vendors is $60 a day. Nothing. And what we do is to trade the money that we raise is to pay for the events and stuff like that, and to showcase, have stuff for the young folks, have stuff. But to go back to why we did Lackawanna Community Fun Day, and 9 years ago we weren't having nothing like that that affect the whole. And with the senator help and people from the when the chamber was there and Michelle Uberly, Judy Faircloth, Simone Johnson, all got together and said we're going to do something. And not only do we do 1 year Taggart Playground, do we do 1 year at the library. So we make sure that everybody is taught, touched. And it's been going well, and you know, it just showed what Lackawanna is, and we're very fortunate we have an elected official that take part.
Yeah.
I remember he had to miss a vacation.
How did you get involved, Senator
Well,
Kennedy?
well, first, Matt, I want to tell you again how honored I am to be here. I want to thank you and your team at 716 Live, and my great friend John Ingram. You know, John and I have been doing this a long time, right, John?
Yes,
we don't want to admit how long we've been doing it, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, I've been in the Senate for 13 years. And before I was even in the Senate, John was there helping the community, working with me to deliver for not just a great city of Lackawanna, but for all of Western New York. You know, you want to talk about a great man, a man of the people,
He is.
somebody that engages with folks on the ground in the community. You know, John was elected to the city council of Lackawanna, as we all know, but I knew him when, as they say. And before he was a councilman, and since his work in government, he's gone back to his roots. But before he was a councilman, he was doing it already. He was on the street, he was talking to the people. You know, he would be engaging with folks at their doorstep, in the church, in the community center. You know, the difference between the city council meetings when John was elected to the council and before he was elected to the council was one thing and one thing only. He was getting paid to be there. Right? That man was always there. He is a man on the move, and people listen to John Ingram. John Ingram cares deeply about people. And you know what? That's where this Community Fund Days initiative began. John Ingram, his work in the community, his desire to help people, his relationships, both with folks like myself and other government officials, with church leaders, like Pastor Blue and Pastor Mobley and Pastor Woods and so many other great leaders in the church throughout Lackawanna and Western New York, that John just coalesces around a vision to bring people together. And, you know, we talk about the city of good neighbors. We're the region of good neighbors. The city of Lackawanna is indicative of people who care about each other.
Yes.
And, you know, it's Community Fund Days that allows people to come out and celebrate each other, celebrate the community. Jeffrey Taggart Park, you know, it's coming up fast on August 25th through the 26th, less than a month away. You already talked about some of the great music we're going to have that day. It's a couple of days, full days ahead of us, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to have health information. We're going to have vendors from all over Western New York, all over Lackawanna, information tables. And, you know, it's just going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be activities for the kids. There's going to be food. There's going to be merchandise. And I'll let John talk about, you know, some of the details, you know, some of the sponsors in that. But, you know, we're looking to really engage folks. And every single year, John, you'll attest to this, every single year gets bigger and it gets better.
I'm looking forward to the
It gets
expansion.
bigger and get better, and we get, you know, we have Uniland that is a sponsor. You know, we have OLV, Big Victory, that's been with us from day one. You know, the city of Lackawanna Municipal Housing is gracious enough to let us use the facilities to make sure we have it. But it's just some of the regular folks, there's Mary Louise and Clifton and stuff like that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and just regular folks doing stuff. Miss April from Cosmetic Store, whatever, you know.
Okay,
We have
Mocha Cosmetics.
Mocha Cosmetics and stuff like that. Highlight High Tech, you know. Just and these are local folks. Grew up in, I'm born and raised in Lackawanna, whatever.
Some businesses are coming.
Yeah, businesses
Right.
are coming in and stuff like that. And they want to, you know, you got Abbott Lane, Golden Lane, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a community, the city of Lackawanna, like you're talking about, we know it. We fight with each other.
That's right.
But when it comes down, we work together.
Well, that's what it's all about. And, you know, we oftentimes refer to that as making the sausage. Sometimes it ain't pretty,
Absolutely.
but the goal is to have the outcome be very good for the people in the community. And, you know, John mentioned some of the leaders that are a part of this, Mayor Iafallo, the council members, a number of folks from the school district, a number of churches. You got OLV, you got Steel City, Mount Olive, Second Baptist. You know, so everybody's pulling together, all various denominations, you know, all ethnicities. Like, this is a true celebration of the diversity and the beauty that is Lackawanna, particularly in the first ward of Lackawanna.
But I'm very proud of 716. I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you because I know this lady here.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up around each other. You know what I'm saying? And just, I always tell when she first started doing that, I said, oh my God. I was on the phone. I call her the Oprah of Lackawanna.
It's true.
God is good. God
It's
is
true.
good.
Yeah.
And to the senator, fight for us all the time when we're dealing with transportation and stuff like that. I watched him in Albany speaking for us. When we had the community, when we did the march and stuff. And I remember, like I said, he's been in office 13 years. But I remember his first day when he was walking through the first ward by himself. With
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
And I remember what he said to the residents when he talked to them. He said, I'm going to promise you that I'm going to try to be there when you need me. I'm going to promise that I may not get everything done, but I'm going to do the best I can. And then when you call me, I'm coming. And he has kept that word.
Thank you,
And
John.
sometimes we don't get that from a lot of people, but it needs to be said.
Thank you, John.
I've only heard great things about you. I've not heard anything bad about you. I had the opportunity to actually hear you speak, and you spoke so eloquently. At the what was it, the Martin Luther King
Oh,
event.
yeah, sure. Of course, yeah.
I mean, you moved me just with
Thank
your
you.
words.
Thank you.
But I do have a few questions
Sure,
to ask
yeah,
you
yeah.
as our senator.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
So one of the first questions I have, what are your top priorities and goals while in office? And I know the election is going to be coming up next year,
Sure.
and you've done a lot
Mhm.
for the state so far, but what are your top priorities and goals now?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that question. You know, what we are doing right now, and I want to put it into context, is we are transforming our state and we're transforming our region and community. And it's one street at a time, one house at a time, one neighborhood, one city, one town, one region, one state. And let me talk about what that means. For the last 100 years, Republicans in the state of New York have been in control of the Senate all but 14 years. Think about that, including the last 5. So in the 13 years that I've been in the Senate, 8 of those years were in the minority conference, where it's very difficult to get anything done. But we persevered. We were able to push through more bills than anybody else. We were able to use our voice and our bully pulpit and the influence that we had and the being on the right side of the issues to really drive an agenda. And we did everything we needed to do, everything we had to do to scratch and claw and to get our voice heard for our community. I've been blessed and really privileged over the last several years. This is my 5th year in the majority. And the first thing we did when we gained the majority is we named the first woman and the first woman of color in the history of the New York State Senate as majority leader. And that's Andrea Stewart Cousins. In the history of New York State. And so she is a history maker. She is a glass ceiling breaker. And she and I are very close. I just spoke to her yesterday. She cares deeply about Western New York. She cares deeply about the whole state. She cares deeply about Lackawanna, and every other area of our community. And the relationship that I have with her is it's so strong, but it's so important because when you have the leader of the entire Senate that cares about the issues that you bring to her, big and small, and is willing to listen to you, that is where the real influence comes. And so folks in the community have their influence through me, through the leadership of our Senate and ultimately our state. At the same time, on the other side of the chamber, almost in a mirror image, in the assembly, we had Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes ascend to majority leader on her side of the chamber. First woman and first woman of color. Same year, same month, January of 2019. And so here we have these 2 historic leaders that work extremely closely with me to carry our message out there. And our message is about transforming Buffalo, Lackawanna, Western New York, and the entirety of the state into the Empire State once again, making it a state that we can all be proud of, to live here, to work here, to raise our families here. But we need opportunity. And the reason I got involved politically in the first place over 25 years ago, as a young man studying to be an occupational therapist when I ultimately graduated. So I'm a healthcare practitioner.
Really?
A lot of people don't know that about me. I come from healthcare. And, my wife's a physical therapist. We're blessed with 3 beautiful children. My oldest son, Connor, turns 18 this Sunday. Our daughter, Erin, she is 14. She'll be 15 in September. And our youngest just turned 12 on this past Sunday. So we have a young but growing family. And, my generation had to leave by the tens of thousands because they couldn't find jobs here. And so from the time I got involved in government and politics years ago, it was all about helping our community grow and really see our highest potential become a reality. And, I have a new driving force today, and it's my children, that they will someday be able to stay here and their grandchildren stay here if they want to, where others have been forced away. Luckily, and thankfully, folks have been able to come back.
I'm one.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I'm one. But I'm still working out of Chicago,
Yep.
unfortunately, because it's very difficult to find adequate employment in
Yeah.
some areas.
Well, we got to
Some
fix that,
areas.
right? And
Yeah.
so let me tell you one thing that we've done in helping people to get employment is I've actually started a jobs website. I work very closely with the New York State Department of Labor. I work closely with the Chamber of Commerce in every community, including Lackawanna. And what we do is we post every job that it comes my way, and they come by the hundreds, to my website. And we update it at least once a week. You can check it out. Please check it out. It's KennedyJobs.com. So my last name plus job.com. KennedyJobs.com. Very simple. And you go on there. You can review the website at your own time and at your own leisure. It's for folks that are both employed, underemployed, unemployed, anybody that's looking for a job, maybe a bump up, maybe a career change. And it's everything. It's everything from, the lowest level jobs to the highest executive positions, from minimum wage to, 6-digit salaries. So there's a little bit in there for everyone. And also what we do is we help folks be trained up. So a lot of the times that we've recognized people want to move their career in a different direction, and their heart is there, their soul is there, their timing is there, but their training isn't to the level that they need. So we've created training opportunities, and folks can work with my office and get connected to training opportunities in the community. Right over here, right around the corner at the Northland Workforce Training Center. It's about $150 million investment on a workforce training center that helps with resumes, it helps with career building, it helps with education, and it helps to connect folks to jobs in the community, all sorts of jobs. So we have actually acted as a employment pipeline. A lot of times my staff will tell you we feel like a human resource office, but you know what it's all about? It's all about helping people, right?
Yeah, that's right. Of service.
One thing we were just talking about businesses in Lackawanna and stuff. We just did business in Lackawanna.
Yeah.
With business, great. But also one of the things I'm talking about, and I was talking to a couple of businesses, they said, you know what? We want to ask our elected officials more questions about how our business can grow, how Lackawanna as a city can do certain things. So I told them that I said, you know what we need to do? We need to have a meeting, invite Senator, invite Policar, invite her, and listen to hear them so they can tell you, hey, this is what we can do to help you, whatever. And I think that's sometimes we don't think outside the box. We don't think outside the box, and we have a lot of small businesses that are in desperate need of help. And some that just want to grow. Some just want to grow. And that's why it's good to have people like you in office and Crystal and all those, so we can get that connection together.
And I went off a little bit because I had a lot of information to share, and I think
that's a great
too
resource
for your listeners. But it feeds into you ask about my priorities. It's about improving the economy and making sure everyone is touched by the new economy in Western New York. And we have gone through a lot in our community. Our community, as we all know, has been brought to our knees in the past, and we are digging ourselves out of a very difficult history here. And so a difficult history that for the better part of the last century has not been on our side.
Yeah.
But for the last 15 years or so, we're starting to find our sea legs, so to speak. We're starting to get our feet underneath us. But what we got to do is use this momentum to take our community to another level. So when it comes to economic development and it comes to bringing jobs here, businesses, I was on a virtual meeting today with a business located overseas that I'm trying to attract to our community. And you know where I was telling them about coming to locate and set up their roots? Right in the great city of Lackawanna, right on the old Bethlehem Steel site,
Route
which is the old
5.
Renaissance Commerce Park. I'm working on bringing in new companies all the time, just basically telling our story, saying, you know what, there's never been a better time to invest in Western New York than there is today. And that's because of the momentum that we've created. But I'm in a unique position in the majority in the Senate, that I've been entrusted with the transportation chairmanship. And John will tell you, the work that we've done over the years, whether it's with enhancing the NFTA, public transportation. John and I stood up with our community. We fought back. We marched right down Ridge Road when they tried to cut the routes into the first ward of Lackawanna. They would have left the first ward of Lackawanna on an island with no public transportation. And folks are already walking almost a mile or more just to get to the nearest bus stop. That's not right. We stood up and we fought. We led a march with Pastor Blue and others. And
It was something they weren't expecting.
that's exactly right. And you know what? We won the day.
Yeah, we won. And it wasn't when we did the meet. They weren't expecting the meet.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't acting nothing special. We just acting the street of fair.
Fairly.
That's all we acted.
That's it.
And I tell anybody when we go do something, when I go to the council, sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but I go.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot get mad when you don't participate.
That's right.
You cannot get mad when you don't ask questions. If you don't agree, you cannot say, I don't agree with Kennedy, I don't agree with the mayor, I don't agree with John, whatever. But if you never come to anything, hear the whole story. Don't get so caught up in what a Facebook or text message. Find out.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research. Ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was taught is always do your research.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like the answer, you have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're right. And you know what? To John's point, let me just clarify, John. You can get mad,
Yeah.
but you know what? You can't expect a different result if you're not a part of the process.
Right.
And so to be in these meetings and to communicate with me, to communicate with you, to communicate with your elected officials, and tell us what you want. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what your vision for our community is. We want to hear that. That makes us better public servants. And so I really love that. I love connecting with people. One of the things that we're working on as the chair of transportation is bringing home infrastructure dollars.
That's one of the that's a great segue to
Sure.
one of the questions that I actually have as far as the transportation. I've seen that your office has a bill in the works to include renewable energy sources and more cars.
Yeah.
Are fossil fuels a major concern for you?
Yeah. Oh, well, of course. I mean, look, our environment is under attack. I mean, it is a scary thing right now. I mean, I'm thinking about it more and more because we continue to hear these stories that are frightening. Today, the water temperature off the coast of Florida is over 100 degrees, 101 degrees. It's the hottest temperature that they've ever recorded. And they said it's like hot tub water. When you get in a hot tub and you feel the shock and it feels great, that's how our ocean feels right now off the coast of Florida. That is bad for the coral reef. And if it's bad for the coral reef that feeds the fish and that coral reef can't survive, what do you think is going to happen to the fish? Then what happens? So we're hearing, and not to mention the horrific hurricanes that are starting to stir up every single year. This is not an anomaly when we get hit with a Category 5 hurricane anymore. It's becoming the norm. Or the blizzard that we just dealt with, or these torrential storms and the tornado. The environment, the delicate environment has really been injured over the last 150 years with the industrial reality that we as a global community have shared. And we are in this moment in time where we have an opportunity to do something about it and make a real change, start to change and begin to make a focused transformation within the government that's going to be beneficial to the environment. And that means using zero emission vehicles. Electric cars are becoming not the anomaly or abnormal. It's becoming the norm. These electric school buses. We just a couple of years ago approved a budget that will provide $500 million towards the electrification of the school bus fleet in the entire state of New York. We are a leader in the nation. And you know how many school buses there are in the state of New York? It's a crazy number. 50,000.
Wow.
50,000 school buses. And you know how those school buses are, right? They spew that diesel fumes, and it's bad for the environment. It's bad for the neighborhoods these school buses go through. It's bad for our kids that are riding in these school buses. So what we did is put forward a bill that was approved that by the year 2027, every school bus in the state of New York must be purchased with zero emissions, which means it's going to be better for the environment by the school districts. And we put $500 million behind it through a bond act in New York State that will actually allow the transition to be done easier. We also put in a little asterisk that said if the school districts need a little bit more time, they can ask for another 2 years. So by 2029, every school bus must be purchased that's zero emissions. But by 2035, all the school buses on the road in the state of New York must be zero emissions. So within the next decade, a little over a decade, you're going to see a transformation in the school buses. But what's amazing is this is technology that's already here. This is not pie in the sky. You know, the school buses and the electric school buses and the zero emission school buses are here. They're here to stay. And what we have to do is create the environment around them from an economic standpoint and from a structural infrastructure standpoint to support them so that these school buses can operate with the cleanliness and the benefit to the environment that they deserve. And you know, we want to make sure that they're safe. We want to make sure that they're reliable, that they're dependable in all weather conditions. And time after time, it's being proven that they are.
What are your thoughts on the infrastructure and the transportation system?
Yeah, so we put forward a $32.5 billion infrastructure program just a couple of years ago. And that program is a statewide program. It's the first time we had put forward this sort of capital program in years. It was a direct result of what the federal government did, where they, for the first time in 17 years, passed a federal highway infrastructure bill. Back to the days of George W. Bush. You don't hear that name very often anymore, right? But they finally moved, and so we took advantage of that moment. But I will tell you, I've been saying we need more. We got to continue to fund our roads and our infrastructure. We are not only an aging community with our infrastructure, but we also are always seeing that inclement weather off the lake and the salt that eats away at that infrastructure.
Especially Buffalo,
right?
Because it's so close to the it can be 60 degrees and then 90 degrees.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
And we just saw the infrastructure where the bridges fell, just came apart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was amazing. The money that gets for the infrastructure, and folks were voting against it, but we passed it, and the money that they received, and now they're trying to take credit.
Oh gosh, don't get me started on that, John. Don't get me started on that, man. Believe me when I tell you. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. This is the worst.
Was it hard to put through, Senator Kennedy?
It's always difficult. Nothing is ever easy, including a fight that we won this past year, which I'm so proud of, which is the Kensington Expressway reconstruction that is going to reunite the east side of Buffalo for the first time in over 70 years. And when the Frederick Law Olmsted designed Humboldt Parkway was obliterated by a bad policy at the federal level, where they came in and they said, you know what, this community right over here, we're going to be able to roll them right over. And so that's what they did, not just here in Buffalo, but across the nation. And the Eisenhower administration, with the federal highway bill and the post-World War II bill, they went on a spending spree and a building spree across the country, which was great for the thruway system. It was bad for neighborhoods.
Yeah, it pushed a lot of minorities out.
But they targeted minority communities.
I'm glad you said that.
Oh yeah, well look at they targeted communities of color. It is a fact, not just here in Buffalo, but across the country. And now we again, like we have a moment to. This is our moment. Is our moment to make the changes on the injustices of the past. This is our moment in time, and we were able to secure $1 billion. And Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes and I worked extremely closely with the community, the Rock Coalition, Restore Our Community Coalition. Stephanie Barber Jeter and her team for years had driven this agenda, and they just couldn't get over the finish line. We made it a priority. We worked with the governor to make sure that this thing got done. And here's what it's going to do. This is going to be shovels in the ground by next year. And the EIS process right now, the environmental impact study is taking place. So this is a moving project. This is happening. We're going to see $1 billion going into the east side of Buffalo infrastructure. You're going to see where there is that depressed roadway where the Kensington is, it's going to be connected by a park. So you're going to be able to go from the Museum of Science across to the other side of Dodge and Ferry, and all the streets over in the neighborhood are all going to be now replaced with a park-like setting. You're going to have public space, trees, bike paths. It's really going to be a community asset. And we want to make sure as well that the community benefits, that folks are working on this project, and they're working on projects throughout the community. So we're putting an extra focus on MWBE participation. We want to make sure women and minority-owned firms and the workforce is reflective of the community where we're making these investments. And so we have made it our focus to make sure that companies have a seat at the table. We just held a symposium last week on MWBE symposium with the laborers local 210 to diversify the labor workforce here in Buffalo and Western New York. All these public work projects are coming out, whether it's the Bill Stadium or the Kensington Expressway or all of the other public works that are happening. Folks in our community should have a seat at the table. We want to make sure, not a seat at the table, at the front of the table.
And we have to come out, everyone. We can't just expect the politicians to do everything for us. We have to use our voice to tell them what it is that we need from them. We have to use our voice. We have to get out there and vote. We have to vote for the things that matter to us. We can't just say, oh, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change if you don't get out there and make it change. Like, if you want change, be the change that you want to see. Mm-hmm. That is facts. You can't sit around and think that things are going to change and you aren't doing anything about it. Things can change if we all get together and force the change.
That's right.
That's how life works.
Mm-hmm. I always say why do you give away your most powerful weapon, the vote? I said, all you have to do is look through history. Mm. Voting is your most powerful weapon. Mm-hmm. And I say this to young folks, especially. If you don't agree, if you disagree, it doesn't matter what party or whatever you're with, but you don't vote, just talk. Mm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Vote.
And especially now, we are on the heels of the horrific massacre of 514 last year here, right in the heart of our community. And that racist terrorist that targeted Buffalo in our great East Side community at Tops, the central location for shopping, he did research to find that Tops was the only supermarket within a food desert. Yeah. And, a bill that I carry is called the Fresh Act that will put incentives to grocers that will come and that will relocate into these food deserts throughout not only Western New York, but the state, including Lackawanna. We've been talking about this for a while. And, that's just one thing on top of everything else that we're doing. But, when you talk about this moment in time post 514, this is it. This is our calling. This is our generation. We've got to do something here. And so, that's what we're doing. We have really galvanized the community, and we're using that horrific moment in time as motivation. And I told every single one of those grieving families that we were in this until the end, for the long haul, to make sure that their loved ones did not die in vain, that our community is a model for racial equity and social justice, not just here in New York State, but in the rest of the nation. This is what my drive is now. So I've got another bill called the bill on racial equity and social justice that would create an office here in New York State. And it's before the governor. We're hoping that she signs it into law. It would create the first of its kind office here in New York State, in the nation, a statewide office, a national trend, but it's not unprecedented. There are offices in Maryland and in Washington where there are more localized offices at the county levels. This would be the first of its kind statewide office. And really what it would be used for is to inform political leaders that may not think like we think on what is necessary in order to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table, that no one should be, no one's success in life should be determined by the color of their skin or their socioeconomic status. We want to eradicate this implicit bias. You know, we've created training for public employees and employees alike where, you know, we're enlightening people on like the world. This is 2023. Why are we dealing with these horrific acts of racist, terrorist violence in our own community? And it's because of ignorance, pure and utter ignorance and stupidity, quite frankly. And those those perpetrators will be held accountable. But at the same time, we've got, and that includes social media. You see the families that are suing the social media websites. But at the same time, we've got to do our part and make sure that we are being proactive. And government has a role in that.
So I know you have to go, Senator Kennedy.
I'm having fun though.
Yeah.
I'm having too much fun.
What would you like to inform the listeners of Think and Grow with Vet Green and 716 Live Radio of? There's a lot that we need to do as the constituents. I don't want to put it all on the politicians. There's a lot that we need to do. So what would you like to inform? What more can we do to make sure that we do have a voice in a place at the table?
Well, thank you, Vet. And again, thank you for having me. John Ingram, thank you for your friendship and your leadership and for being with me here today. And you're doing it. This is part of it. This is a conversation. It's a conversation with each other. It's a conversation with the community. It's bringing people together. I think the most important thing that we can do is listen to one another. You know, the one thing I can promise you I'm good at is listening to folks and incorporating the needs of our community into the work that I do, and using the information I gather from folks in the community on the ground that are dealing with issues to inform the work that I do at the highest levels of government. That's both here in New York State as well as down in Washington, D.C., where we've created many different relationships that have helped us to really focus in on the needs of our community and make real substantial change. Let me give you just a quick example of that. I think it's important for folks to know, you know, the African American Health Disparities Task Force, led by Pastor Pointer and Pastor Nicholas and so many other visionary leaders, Pastor Blue and so many others in our community that really talked about the racial disparities in healthcare for years.
It's a real issue.
And, you know, the pandemic exacerbated that. It showed the world what was happening. But before the pandemic hit and everybody else in the world was talking about it, you know what we did? We took the task force that these gentlemen had driven for so many years and made substantial changes. And we connected them to the University of Buffalo. And we created the first of its kind model university institute in the nation, the Health Equity Institute at UB. And, you know, we're so proud of that. And you know what that's from? That's just listening to the people, realizing what the issues are, and then taking the relationships that we have and connecting good people with other good people on a common vision to benefit our community. And we're just getting started. So I just think the more people can engage with me, the more people can engage with others, and you know, the political process, the government process, and the community, just being there, volunteering. The best advice I was ever given, the way I got involved in government as I was studying to be a healthcare practitioner, as an occupational therapist, is one of my teachers who had been a refugee from Havana, Cuba, as a young lady, young girl, 13 years old, came from Havana, fleeing communist Cuba in the 1950s. She knew the value of a good, strong, democratic government. And she said to me one day, she said, "Hey, Timoteo, have you ever thought about getting involved in politics?" And I said, "I think about it every day, but I don't know how." And she gave me the best advice I was ever given. And she said, "Volunteer." And from that moment on, it was like the keys to a treasure chest. And I volunteered in every campaign and race and political office that I could get involved with, and I had time to do. You don't have to do everything, but you know what? You learn the people, you learn the process, you learn what to do, what not to do, you learn to network, and you learn how to use your own personal influence to effectuate positive change. So that's the best advice I can give you that I was given as a young man. Volunteer, and feel free to reach out to my office. I'm at Kennedy@nysenate.gov. Kennedy@nysenate.gov. And my phone number is 716-826-2683. Again, that's 716-826-2683. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what your issues are. And, I'm so excited to be here. We got to do this again.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I hope you don't forget about 716
I
Live.
love
as you are.
716 Live. This is cool.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for this, John. I am so appreciative of everything that you do for me and the community.
Yes.
I saw John out there when he first came back to Lackawanna. I mean, he hit the ground running. He really hit the ground running, and I'm proud to be a part of this, and whatever I can do to use my voice, because I'm going to use my voice.
You're doing it.
God gave me this voice
Yeah.
for a reason, so
Yeah.
I'm going to use my voice,
Yeah.
and I'm going to voice change.
Like I said, you're the first time we actually have somebody to share information on the radio, in public, so other folks can hear and understand. And you'd be surprised, there's so many good people out there that won't get involved and won't do stuff, but sometimes they don't know how. And like I said, they need to be shown and we can show them. And sometimes just by doing little things to help. We're talking to young folks, whatever, and you'll be surprised with the questions they ask you. And you'll be like, okay, we didn't know that. We didn't know. Now we know. Even if they don't really care for you. But if they're willing to come talk and say, well, I don't really understand why you do what you do. Take the time to talk.
Yeah.
Take the time to ask them why they're angry at you. Do they really know you? If they don't know you, don't go by what somebody else said. Go by what you hear, go by what you see. And question. And if you got to do it, you may not like him or her, but be willing to ask them questions. Be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't let somebody else influence you.
That's true.
That's right.
Our children are our future, everybody.
Yeah.
And we need to get out there and make sure that the things that are most important to us, we talk about it at the poll. We vote like that at the poll as well. Everyone, what we have to go through, we don't necessarily have to go through. If you are concerned about the things that the politicians should be taking care of, get out there and vote. Vote about what you care about. Don't just vote because the person is Black. Don't just vote because the person is white. Vote for the things that are important to you. Okay? I love y'all. Long life. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for another episode of Think and Grow with Vet Green. We are live in the 716 Live studios. Thank you, everyone who tapped into this, and thank you, Senator Kennedy. I appreciate it.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you to 716 Live. Thank you, Vet. You're amazing.
Thank you.
716 Live is rocking and rolling. You're doing all the right things. You're communicating with everyone out there, and this is what it's all about. And again, my man, John Ingram.
Yeah,
thank you for bringing it.
John. Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you so much, Franklin. And we're out.
Thanks, Frank.